Good Friday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by the Family Forest Carbon Program, where we help family forest owners get paid to improve the health of their woods. Well, under clear skies, I've got 72 degrees on the barn thermometer this morning. Now it looks like we are going to get back into another hot, muggy day with temperatures in the low 90s. It has definitely been a midsummer feel in that air with the heat and humidity. We had some hit and miss thunderstorms on the farm last night, and it looks like those may roll through later today as well. This quick calendar reminder, the 2025 Ohio State Weed Science Field Day is going to be held on Wednesday, July the 9th at the Western Ag Research Station there in South Charleston, Ohio. Registration starts at 8:30 and the program begins promptly at 9. Field day topics will include a crop and weed herbicide screen, herbicide injury plot, water hemp control, and current trials they have evaluating the integrated pest management strategies like cover crops. Again, time is from 9 until 1 at OARDC's Western Ag Research Station. To register or for more information, visit their website, go.osu.edu/weedscience25. Also, tune in to the midday programming on Wednesday as Dale will be traveling to the Marion County Fair. That all thanks to Nature's Premium Liquid Fertilizers since 1946. I'm joined today by Amanda Schwartz. Amanda is the DeKalb Asgrow Technical Agronomist here in Ohio. Amanda, it's been an interesting spring. I think we can pretty much say that all the crops are in the ground. It was cool for a while. Now it's turned out about as hot as it can be for this time of year. Plenty of moisture, as well as the crop being impacted by that. It also impacts insect development, and Bayer has an insect forecasting tool. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. If you go to insectforecast.com, you can toggle through a couple different insects that would be present in your area. The one I'm focused on the most right now is corn rootworm larva. If you've noticed seeing lightning bugs or fireflies in the recent things, ironically, this GDUs that it takes for a lightning bug to hatch into an adult stage are the same number of GDUs it takes for a corn rootworm egg to hatch as well. Once those eggs hatch, they search for corn roots, and that is their source of life.
That's an interesting fact I was not aware of. So it's definitely a nice, easy indicator as far as how many GDUs we've accumulated. If you start seeing those fireflies in the evening, that there could be some things feeding on the corn. Amanda, I feel like a lot of times maybe we've been lulled to sleep a little bit just because of the advanced genetics that we have in there in the corn crop. But you raised a good point. We still need to be aware of corn rootworm.
Yes. There have been some great trade advances within the corn industry as of late, and those are some of the things that we tend to forget about. As commodity prices are lower and input costs are a little higher, I know some guys have moved away from traded corn, so it's just a good thing to keep in mind that if your corn does not have a trait for rootworm protection, such as SmartStax Pro, VT4 Pro, you could have a corn crop that's a little more susceptible to rootworm feeding.
That's a great point. Well, another hot topic, it seems like anytime we talk about corn and agronomy, is tar spots, something that unfortunately seems like it's taken the area by storm the last couple years and really got folks' attention, especially when it comes to the impact on yield. You were sharing with me before we went on the air here that really we need to be aware of that about now and start paying attention.
Definitely. So similar to our insect forecast tool, we have some disease risk maps available for your viewing. And right now, those maps, as it relates to tar spot, are indicating that most of Western Ohio is in a moderate risk for tar spot. As we talked about earlier, the hot, wet summer so far has definitely contributed to the risk of tar spot developing more quickly. So we know that tar spot likes to thrive in periods of wet conditions and warm conditions, and it likes 7+ hours of continued wetness, which includes dews that appear in the morning that linger till, here lately it was noon or so before those dews finally went away. So tar spot moves with water, it overwinters on crop residue. We know it's out there, so I would encourage you to be proactive and start scouting sooner rather than later.
Once I find that, what should the first steps I be based on the growth stage of the corn? When should I consider having to get in there and make an application?
Yep, absolutely. So work with your retailers. We recommend an application of Delaro Complete at Tassel for the best bang for your buck. We have been playing around with different application timings based on growth stage of the crop as well. But right now we do still feel like that economical return is applying Delaro Complete at tassel.
Good information, and with this weather, that will be here before we know it. Again, my guest today has been Amanda Schwartz. She's a DeKalb Asgrow technical agronomist. We've been talking about the interesting spring now, summer weather that we've had, and Bayer's insect forecast tool, things to keep in mind when it comes to corn rootworm, and of course that ever-popular topic, tar spot, and being on the lookout very soon. Amanda, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, let's get a look at your Friday forecast as we head into the weekend, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance, online at seedconsultants.com.
The Ohio forecast looks pretty doggone similar to the past couple of days. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at your forecast update. The heat dome that's sitting over the southeastern United States has weakened, but we're still seeing it in place, and moisture is running over the top of that heat ridge. That's putting it right into our neck of the woods each afternoon. Heat-based instability is a result of that, and that's where we see our scattered showers and thunderstorms. So today, looking a lot like yesterday. Tomorrow probably looks a lot like today. Sunday, a lot like tomorrow. You get the idea. This is going to be the way that we are working through this forecast, or it's going to be the setup, I should say, until we get to a frontal passage on Monday afternoon. Monday midday afternoon, a frontal boundary comes in out of the west and northwest, sliding through. I think from that front, we can pencil in pretty easily a 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch of rain. Where it gets a little bit more dicey on the combined rain totals now through Tuesday morning is where heavy thunderstorms try and develop, because that can create some locally higher rain totals. I'm still blanketing the region with 1/2 to 2 inches combined from right now all the way through next Tuesday morning, but it really comes down to where those thunderstorms are. Behind the frontal passage, we are pleasant, drier, and a little cooler for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week. Friday is July 4th. We are going to see our weekend interrupted by a frontal boundary that tries to come through overnight the 4th into the 5th. A big round of showers and thunderstorms there. Some storms can be strong to severe, but I think we dry back down, trying to at least, for the 6th. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. The USDA's acreage and stocks report are set to make headlines coming up on Monday of next week. Battered market bulls will be looking for any bullish straw to grasp onto at noon on Monday when USDA updates its estimates for row crop acreage as well as grain stocks that were available as of June 1st. Now, ahead of the prospective plantings report at the end of March, the consensus among traders and analysts was clear: expect higher corn acreage in 2025. Well, USDA proved those suspicions correct, publishing a 95.3 million acre estimate, which was even larger than most expected. This time around, for the revision, opinions appear much more split. According to the Dow Jones pre-survey of 17 analysts, the average estimate is still calling for 95.2 million acres. That is slightly less than what March was. However, there are some outliers on the low side, pulling that average down. In fact, 10 of the analysts surveyed are calling for higher acreage, with an average of 95.7 million acres, while 7 also guessed lower and did so at an average of 94.7 million acres. So as we said, it's an impressively almost even split going into Monday's report. As for the quarterly grain stocks report, USDA will report a much-needed inventory analysis for the old crop corn market, which has grown increasingly bearish over recent months. Now, in a similar fashion to corn, when we look at soybeans, the March intentions estimate of 83.5 million acres of soybeans in 2025 was more or less in line with expectations. Now, once again, pre-report guesses are strongly mixed for what the USDA will have to say on Monday. That regarding soybean acreage. Of the 17 analysts surveyed by Dow Jones, 9 see acreage rising on Monday. The average guess among those analysts is calling for 84 million acres of soybeans. That's a 500,000 increase from March, if they're accurate. Now, the 8 who are guessing lower, it's the lesser degree, with the average prediction being 83.25 million acres. For the June 1st stocks estimate, DTN is estimating third quarter usage for soybeans totaled 945 million bushels, and of that number, they're very confident in the crush component at 614 million bushels. Exports of 258 million bushels are based on Census Bureau data for March and April, and estimates for May based on weekly USDA data. Now, wrapping up with wheat, the acreage on Monday should hold the fewest surprises, as it is essentially going to be the third revision from USDA, which began with the seedings report back in January. The average trade guess for total wheat acreage is 45.5 46.4 million bushels, even with the March estimates, with them ranging from 45 to 46 million bushels. So if accurate, this stands as the second smallest wheat acreage total in the U.S. since 1919. Now, despite the lower acreage, wheat production is expected to run close to 2024 levels, with the strong winter wheat crop being expected. Monday's stock report for wheat will also serve as the ending stocks estimate for the 24-25 wheat crop year, which ended back on May 31st. The average estimate in the Dow Jones survey is 835 million bushels of wheat on hand as of June 1st, and that would be a slight decline from the June WASDE ending stocks estimate of 841 million bushels. Implied fourth quarter disappearance for wheat would total 402 million bushels, with imports accounting for the beginning supplies, the largest in 4 years if that's true. And Monday's stock information will also offer insight into how the 2024-25 wheat export program ended the season, following the Foreign Ag Service estimated shipments at just 776 million bushels versus the USDA estimate of 820. Using March and April Census Bureau data, the May data from FAS, they've estimated 2024-25 exports totaling 815 million bushels. That is much closer to the USDA than the data at the end of May implied. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at your markets after this.
For farmers, it can be a challenge to navigate life from time to time, and agriculture can magnify those moments. Hi, I am Nathan Brown, a Highland County farmer and a member of the Ohio Farm Bureau Board of Trustees. Farmers, you are not alone. Help is available if you're dealing with stresses of farming. If you or someone you know is struggling with stress, text 4HOPE to 741-741 or visit go.osu.edu/agcrisis. A message from the Ohio Farm Bureau Federation.
Let's take a look at what's impacting our markets. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Phone 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets gave it the good old college try on a bounce yesterday. Failed. As we take a look at the close, corn was down 1-2. The corn market was the one that traded a little bit positive for a little while. Just could not keep it going. Soybeans down anywhere from 1 to 2.5. Wheat markets were down, but not as much as what we saw earlier in the week. Wheat down anywhere from 5 to 7.5, 8 cents or so overall. As we take a look at the reasons why, let's start with export sales. That report came out, well, even before the report came out, we had a flash reported sale of 110,000 metric tons of soybeans to Egypt for the 24-25 crop year. U.S. soybeans are cheaper than Brazilian FOB offers for late summer. China has been an aggressive buyer and importer of Brazilian soybeans through September, raising FOB cash basis bids. However, Argentina is at a fairly significant discount to U.S., and that's because Argentine grain farmers have been aggressive cash sellers of their new harvest. That comes in anticipation of the government returning tax levels from 9.5% to 12.5% on corn to 26% and 33% on Tuesday, July 1st. The higher taxes are pushing farmers to sell much of their corn and soybean harvest here before we get to the July 1st time frame. Farmers are enjoying an additional $9 to $11 per metric ton on corn and as much as $20 a metric ton on beans because of the tax holiday. For the week ending June 19th, here's our nearby export sales report. The U.S. sold 9.4 million bushels of wheat, nearly 30 million bushels of corn, 14.8 million bushels of soybeans. The wheat exports were lower than expected. Corn and soybeans were at trade expectations. For the respective crop year, the U.S. is still up 10 million bushels on wheat from last year, up 27% on corn year on year, and we're up about 183 million bushels on soybeans from last year. So wheat and beans going to end up near what USDA is expecting. There needs to be a change probably in an upcoming WASDE on the corn still. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, let's take a look at how your markets closed on Thursday, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Now, September corn closed down a penny and December corn was down 1.5 cents. August soybeans closed down 1 3/4 cents, while November soybeans were down 2. September Kansas City wheat closed down 5.5 cents, while September Chicago wheat was down 7 3/4, and September Minneapolis wheat closed the day down 2.5 cents. Taking a look now at your overnight trade, we have July corn trading up 3 cents at $4.12 1/2 cents. December new crop corn up 2 3/4 at $4.23 3/4 cents. July soybeans are trading down 2.5 cents in the overnight at $10.20 1/4 cent, with November new crop beans down 2 cents at $10.14 1/2, and wheat for July trading up 2 1/4 cent, $5.23 1/4 cent. At the close, June live cattle were up a dime. July lean hogs down 50 cents. You're listening to the Ohio AgNet.